Hey guys, it's Sam. I started filming this before my lighting was properly set up, so I'm redoing it. And I also now have a rug, so maybe it's not as echoey in here. We will see. But today I wanted to talk about my Hugo Awards TBR. So if you aren't familiar, the Hugo Awards is a yearly science fiction and fantasy award that is given to a number of different categories: novel, novella, short story, fan works, like a bunch of different things. But I would say that the people talk about the most are probably like the short stories, the novellas, and the novels. And these awards are given every year at the World Science Fiction and Fantasy Convention, which takes place in a different city around the world every single year. What's cool about the Hugos as well is that if you are a member of like the convention or whatever, which you can do whether you're attending the convention or not, you can like sort of have a membership, you can vote in the Hugos. So there's a little bit of like, not only are these, you know, like sort of critically acclaimed, but there's a little bit of people also contributing to this, but there's a certain barrier of entry as well that makes it so like people that are voting on it are probably like super hardcore fans. But anyway, this year I'm attending the Hugos and the World Science Fiction and Fantasy Convention because it's gonna be in Chicago. I live in Chicago, so by the way, if you plan on going, let me know. I'm planning on doing like some kind of meetup with all the sci-fi and fantasy people. I think it's gonna be really fun. I decided, since I'm voting, I already voted in the nominations and stuff, but since I'm voting now for the finalists, I wanna I wanna contribute. I wanna like really be able to vote based on like all of them. So the ones I really care about are the novels and the novellas. You're probably thinking, why am I even gonna watch this video? I can just look up who the novel and novella nominees are. You can. However, what I plan on doing in this video is me sort of saying where I think these books are gonna fall for me, and like who I think is gonna like win in my heart, who I think is probably gonna win like overall. So sort of like predictions and stuff. I also do plan on filming a vlog of me reading all of these so you kind of get my real-time reactions as well. But let's get into it. I'm gonna start with the novellas and then go into the novels. First is a novella I've already read, and that is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is the first in a novella series by her that's taking place in her like hope punk kind of settings that she does. This follows a tea monk who's essentially a therapist, is having sort of like an identity crisis, like not really sure, almost like a quarter life crisis, and goes off into the wilderness and is sort of discovered by a robot, like meets a robot, and robots have not been seen for quite some time, like hundreds of years. They've almost become myth at this point, and then they like basically team up, and it's very cute and wholesome. I give this 5 stars, so already like a strong contender in my heart for what I think I will end up loving the most. But yeah, we will see. Next is one that I own but I haven't read yet, and that is A Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. This is a, I think, darker Sleeping Beauty retelling. I believe it also might be sapphic. This one I'm not sure I'm gonna feel, honestly. I actually plan on listening to this on audio. I did get the audiobook out from my library. I'm just waiting for my hold to come in. And I've only read 10,000 Doors of January by this author. Didn't love it. I do plan on reading her other book, like full-size novel. Not sure, I've heard mixed things about that. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about this at all, but we'll see. Next is a series that I've actually read most of them, but I'm a little bit behind. That is Across the Green Grass Fields by Shauna McGuire. This is, I think, the 7th book in the Wayward Children series. I've enjoyed all the ones that I've read so far. There's only one that I was kind of like iffy about, but I haven't read, I think, either 1 or 2 before this one. I think only 1. So I need to read that one before I read this one. Even though they're sort of like companion-y, there's some crossover, there's some not. It kind of depends on the book. They're not always, like, you don't always have to read all of them. If you hear that knocking, it's my neighbors causing some kind of ruckus. But of all of them that I've read so far, Down Among the Sticks and Bones has been my favorite. I'm not sure if this will be able to top that because that's just like gothic horror goodness. And I love the themes explored in this one. I believe people have talked about this one almost being like a horse girl story, which I think is like very interesting. So we will see how I feel about this one. And we have Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is an author that I have not read yet, but I've heard a lot about, people talking about like space operas and stuff that this author writes. So I'm intrigued, and I think it'll be kind of interesting to see what their writing style is like before diving into a full-size novel. I will say short stories are something that I like really can't get a feel for the author. Novellas are like hit and miss for me, which is why I'm not reading the short stories. Novellas are hit and miss for me, so we'll see, but if they do a really great job at the novella, I'll be like, okay, I feel like I can really commit to the novel. And this follows an anthropologist on a planet that ends up having to like help the natives that they were like studying with some kind of foe. And I believe this is a bit of a genre bender because it's like the synopsis almost sounds fantasy-esque as well. So it might be like a sci-fi fantasy mix, which I think is sort of what this author does. I don't think this is in the same world as their other books. And lastly, we have the novella that I actually just started. I'm only about 20 pages into it though, so I don't have any solid feelings about it yet. That is Fireheart Tiger by Ailette de Bedard. And this is set in a pre-colonial Vietnamese-esque world. And our main character has some kind of like fire powers that are manifesting. But right now she is sort of stuck between her mother and her like former lover, and she's sort of having to be a, not quite emissary, but like the go-between as they're doing these like negotiations, because she was originally sent sort of as like an emissary, political stuff, to that other woman's country, but they formed a relationship, the two princesses, and so like there's this dynamic. So it's sapphic pre-colonial Vietnamese fantasy. And it has been described as like a romantic fantasy. So of these, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's gonna be really hard to beat A Psalm for the Wild Built because that just like spoke to me, and I tend to love Becky Chambers. I will say, I think there's a strong chance that Elder Race will also resonate with me, and potentially Fireheart Tiger as well. Not so sure about Across the Greengrass Fields, and I'm really unsure about Spindle Splintered. As far as what I think will win for the actual Hugo, I'm gonna say it's gonna be between, I'm thinking it's gonna be between Elder Race and Psalm for the Wild Built. We'll see. That has nothing to do with me feeling like I'm gonna like those the best. I do have good taste, but like, that's what I'm thinking are gonna be the strong contenders. Now, for the novels. The first one is A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine. This is the second book in this series, and I have not yet read the first, which is A Memory Called Empire. I don't think that one might have won last year. But this is a space opera, I believe almost like space opera fantasy again, like space opera and fantasy, like sci-fi fantasy sort of combine really well. But I've been very intrigued about that one for a while. So I'm really hoping I can read the first book and get to the second book. All of this, I didn't even mention this, all of this I need to do before August 11th when the voting happens. One of the reasons I am taking on this little project is because all of the novels I wanted to read anyway, and a number of them I already own. The next nominee is The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers, which is the fourth in the Wayfarer's Companion series. And this is the finale in this, again, little like slice of life, hope punk world. I don't know. I've loved every single one of the books in that series. They've all been 5 stars for me. Very attached to them and their themes. So high hopes for this one. In a similar vein, we have Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. This is another one people are talking about. It's sort of like Becky Chambers meets Good Omens, people are sort of saying. There's like Faustian deals and like aliens and all this stuff. So I've been wanting to read this for like months. I've had this since Christmas, but I just haven't gotten around to it. It's one of those books that I'm like, I have to be in the perfect mood for it, but I'm always in the perfect mood for something like this. So high hopes for this as well, obviously. Then She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is like sort of historical fantasy, sapphic as well, but more of like a brutal grimdark sort of story. This is about a woman in Mongol China who sort of like steps up into her brother's role after he is killed and becomes, I believe, like empress or whatever. I've heard amazing things about this as well. So all of these very strong contenders. Like I haven't heard a bad thing about any of the books that are nominated for novel. The next one is The Master of Jinn by P. Djeli Clark. This one I've been hearing a lot of good things about as well. It's a desert fantasy. This one was like a series of novellas and then this novel. So question, I will look into this myself as well. But I would love opinions about, should I read all those novellas before I read this? Or are those just like additional I don't know. I don't know if I need to or not. But I've heard really good things about P. Djeli Clark. Just been meaning to get into their stuff. Haven't yet. Then we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Andy Weir is the person that wrote The Martian and a couple other books. I don't think I've read anything by Andy Weir thus far, so this would be my first one. People tend to say that he has like a funny sort of like funny sci-fi writing style, very like fast paced and everything. People have been talking really highly of this, so again, high hopes all around. As far as what I think, this was really tough. I really think I could love any of these as like favorites. Obviously Becky Chambers, very possible will be like my favorite. Like I'm pretty sure I will give the Becky Chambers books 5 stars, but I could give all of these 5 stars. Like I'm pretty confident all of these could be 5 stars. As far as the winner, I can see The Galaxy and the Ground Within winning almost as like a cumulative of the Wayfarers. I don't know if the Wayfarers ones have, any of them have won Hugos in the past. I'm not sure. But I can see this being sort of like a, yes, what a crowning achievement. I also think Project Hail Mary has a pretty good chance because I do know Andy Weir is like fairly well loved. And because there is this element of like, a lot of people do get to vote, is it gonna be a little bit of like, it's not quite a popularity contest because there's a lot, like you have to be like sort of a super fan to vote in this because the tickets are like pretty expensive and stuff, especially if you're voting as like a non-attendee. Even those tickets are pretty expensive to be like a member. It's not like it's, you know, the Goodreads Choice Awards or something. But yeah, I'm gonna say either Becky Chambers, Andy Weir, maybe Arcady Martine if they won last year. I really, any of these could win and I would like not be shocked. I mean, obviously they're all nominated, but like, I don't know. All of these novels I've heard amazing things about. So there's not really a front runner in my head for what's gonna win here. So yeah, that is the plan. So I'm gonna try to read all of these books before August 11th when the voting stops. I'm gonna do a reading vlog, like vlogging my experience reading all these books. So yeah, comment down below, let me know if you've read any of these, what you thought of them, if you plan on reading things for the Hugos. And let me know if you think my guesses are correct as far as what I think will win / what I think I'll like the most. I really don't know. I mean, like all of these sound good, which is why I'm doing this. So thank you all for watching and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.